Hello, and we're live. Yes, we didn't bother with the intro this time. As you may have imagined, it's not like us to sort of like wait, oh, let's wait till it gets a bit frosty, and then we'll start talking. Now, YouTube is having issues. We couldn't start a stream. We were going to have a backup plan of going on to SBL because we could just, like a Raptor site, we could turn our microphones on like Raptor sites. We could do at least commentary on it. So we'd have been okay. But I think with all these Booster 19 and Flight 12 tests, we wanted to give it the best possible chance of getting the stream working, and we have got it working, thanks to the wonderful work of Jake Egan, our producer in the background. So we are live. Thanks for your patience. I would have been in chat doing the same thing, saying, why are you starting? Why? It's frosty. Why aren't you starting? I'd have been the same. So I completely understand that, but understand sometimes it's not that easy. It's not a case of just pressing a button and hoping for the best. You've got to have an encoder working, you've got to have a vMix working, and it's all got to go through to YouTube where it starts the stream, and it was a problem on a Sunday. And of course, on a Sunday, everyone at YouTube headquarters decides to take the day off. So that's why. But we're live now. Everything's fine. Let's get back to normal. We're prop loading. That's great news. It's Booster 19. It's a V3. It's prop loading like a crazy person. It's brilliant. So that's great. So let's talk about it. Who we got talking about it? Me. Oh, no. Well, luckily, we've got other people. Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Chris. Hello, everybody.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not prepared for this. Right. We've also got Mr. Ryan Weber.
Hi everyone. How's it going? Yeah, they're prop loading Booster 19. Well, Chris, I'll just kind of just go at this point. So this is test number 3 for Booster 19 after they took it off the pad, placed it on the transport stand to do some work on it. Then they placed it back on the pad yesterday, and now they're doing another test. We do not know what they're doing today. I'll just put that out there. This could just be another tanking test. They could do more. At this point, we'll have to wait and find out at this one. But they do seem to be going a little bit quicker on the chill down today because the methane reclaim vent started at like 7:37 a.m. local, and we started seeing LOX frost at like 9:15. So they are like refining this already to where that's kind of nuts. Like the methane chill down is only like an hour and a half, but they were running the LOX side for a while before that. Either way, we're way into prop load at this point, and let's see how much they load and what they do today testing. Now, as for any engine testing, I will say this: I don't know if they care that they have cones at the exits to the trench, because if they went and fired the engines, those things would probably go wee and fly away. So maybe they won't test the engines, but anything's possible.
Yeah, Alex, I mean, I don't blame... Another thing I don't blame people for is people getting excited about static fire test. Oh, every time they prop load it. Static fire test? Is it a static fire test? Are we... I mean, we never rule it out because you never know with SpaceX. Yeah. SpaceX are a fun beast that like to surprise us, but are we expecting, Alex, them to probably just do another full test after the troubleshooting they've done? We're taking it off the orbital launch mount and had it on the stand for a while. Or do you think they'll just static fire it? What do you think?
I wouldn't be surprised if after the checkouts that they did and like that work that they did at the on the booster aft, they sort of do a test first, like some kind of confidence test, if you will, right? We've gotten used to those lately with SLS. But I also wouldn't be surprised if if they look at all the data as they load the propellants, right? And they're like, you know what? Maybe let's do something with the engines, like. It could also be another spin prime. We saw the other day as well that they did a spin prime, or at least it looked a lot like a spin prime. So it's one of those things that it's like maybe it could be something else, right? There's still it's been a long time, for example, that we haven't seen, for example, a pre-burner test. Remember those? The last ship I think that did one of those because it was a ship, the last vehicle that did that. Was Ship 26, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a long time ago that we saw some of those, but those could still be a thing if especially with a new engine, new booster version, etc., and also new ground systems and everything, right? So they could also test the engines that are not static fire tests, right? So there are many other different ways of being able to test all of this. But in the 5 minutes that I've been talking about this, look at the level of the frost. We saw frost on the vehicle around 10 minutes ago, and it's already like a quarter of the way, maybe a little bit more than a quarter, probably closer to like a third of the way up the booster. So this is going fast.
I'm just going to do a little tweet. I did a little 5-second Bandicam there, and literally in the 5 seconds, you can see it rising in real time. It's not even a time lapse. It's okay. Let's see what we're gonna. Let's do a live tweet together, chat, shall we? Let's do a live tweet together. Right, blink and you'll miss it. There we go. I'll leave it at that. Yeah. There we go. People go, Chris, you're so clever and funny. No, it's literally just talking off the top of my head there. But either ways, it really is a point, isn't it, Ryan? This prop loading on the Block 3. Now, forgive me, because I've kind of forgotten. Is it thanks to the pad 2, or is it thanks to the booster that we're seeing these faster prop loads?
It's the pad. The booster does have, I think, a little bit larger inlets on the QDs, which kind of helps facilitate the higher flow rate. But it's mainly the pad. All the supply lines, whether it's in the service structure, the QD itself, in the cryo trench, that goes all the way to the pumps themselves. More subcooling capacity, more pumps. The lines are twice the size, twice the diameter that the older ones were. It's the pad side that helps them able to load much faster, because you can have a higher flow rate of fluid through the larger lines, as well as more pumping capacity and everything else. So it's kind of all goes in conjunction. And then also alongside that, when you pull more propellant out of your storage tanks and you do it at a quicker pace, you also need more gas to backfill those tanks, so you don't create a vacuum inside the tanks and collapse them, in which case they have added more gas generation capability in terms of vaporizers. So they basically take, like, whether it's liquid nitrogen, liquid methane, or liquid oxygen, and they pass it through vaporizers, and the air just, the heat of the air around it basically vaporizes the liquid into a gas, and then they use that gas to backfill tanks and use it as pre-pressed gas. So it's a combination of everything, and that's how they can load much faster. It's honestly a amazing feat of engineering what they've been able to do with the pad, and I don't think anyone's ever been able to load a rocket this fast. And not only that, they're also and the reason why they kind of have to do it this fast, or they want to do it this fast, is because they're sub-chilling the propellant, so they can have a higher density and they can put more into the booster, so they can get more delta V and more capability out of it. So it kind of all goes together.
Very good. Now, I was going to say it should be a long stream. It might not be a long stream. They might get this tested and done before you know it. But either ways, while we're on commentary, you have the ability to ask us a question. It doesn't have to be a super chat. It could be your first time here. You put it into chat by doing at NASASpaceflight or at NSF. I always get a tongue twister with that. I've got to put my dentures back in. At NSF, followed by your question. That way, it doesn't matter if it scrolls off the top of the chat, because chat runs quite fast on these streams. It goes into our panel. We can click on it like this. Watch this. Hang on. I'm going to click on it. Is Teddy West has asked a question 4 minutes ago, so it's gone off the screen, but we've got it in the panel. Why are there slits in the chines? Is that normal? I don't remember seeing that before. So let's talk about the chines. There's lots of questions about the chines, so that one will cover quite a lot, Alex. Maybe I heard Ryan go, So maybe Alex start and then Ryan joins in. Talk about the chines.
I'm sure what they are talking about is like the gaps in between the sections on the chines, right?
Yeah.
That's just because it's not closed out for flight. So this is still in testing, right? So what they put is like tape over the gaps in between the sections, so that they can easily sort of take out. There we go. That's let me see if I can try one thing. There we go. So here we go. These are the gaps in between the different sections. And so right now it's still in testing, right? So they don't need to have everything closed out. So they have like tape that some sort of flaps around in the wind sometimes. But yeah, once it's ready for flight, these things will be closed out with like a plate that I think they both bolt and weld it, Ryan?
It should just be bolted on.
Bolted. Okay.
I will say this, is these chines are a little bit different compared to the Block 2 chines and the Block 1s, because those are basically the same. Because on the old ones, the sections were much larger for chines between the spaces. Now, the way they designed them is there's one chine section per ring as it goes up. So there's more gaps. They might, my guess is they'll still bolt it, because if you weld that, then you have to cut that off in order to get access to what's in there, and trying to cut through that with COPVs on the other side is, well, it's not really what you want to do. So my guess is they're going to be bolted plates on, and that's going to be one of the things they're going to have to do when they bring it back and they get it ready for flight. So yeah. That could take a little bit to install.
And if they put that now, it will take a long time. If they wanted to inspect these CUPVs and things like that, they have sort of bottles here inside. Well, not exactly this length, but you can imagine more or less that there's like bottles inside of this. And so they go up the rocket on the side, and that's where they have like part of some of their gases for like ignition of the engines and purging lines, etc., etc. Like, they have multiple different commodities in those bottles, but yeah, if they want to access one of those before flight, like it is right now during testing, it's easier if there's no bolted plates or anything like that in between the sections. So that's why you see that.
Hang on a minute, let me just stop you all there. We've just completely gone over the fact we've had Alex art on screen.
It's okay, it's okay.
It's always great to be able to show to be able to like circle and show things that we're talking about, so we can point them out. As one thing I'll point out is, here we are about 15 minutes into prop load, and we're halfway through the LOX tank. So there you go. There's your 30-minute prop load. So,
wow, that's incredible. But that is, no, it's a good thing, Alex, because I know that they were trying to set me up for that Raptor side, but of course I'm a numpty, and I was trying to draw at the same time as sort of like talk, and I couldn't do it. I was like all over the place, but luckily we can start pointing at things on screen. Sometimes people go, it's got a question about the chines. We start talking about the chines. Might be a new person going, well, what's the chines? And there's Alex withdrawing on the screen, showing what they are. So yeah. There we go. Thanks, Alex. Yeah. Alex is literally showing you what the chines are and where they are. That's great. Let me thank some people. I always make a point of thanking people who support us, but I always get caught up by the amount of people who support us, because this is crazy. And it just sounds like I'm reading off a long list. The thing is, it's a long list of people, but that is why we can do this. These are our original cameras. This is our stream. These are our positions on the Starbase land that we actually own. Just crazy. If you see this stream on someone else's stream, it's not us. So basically, these are our cameras. This is not a SpaceX feed where we're talking over it, because you do get some fun people who try to restream us, and that's not allowed. That's naughty, because these are our cameras, but thankfully paid for by people like Bideford. It's 1, 2, 3, DSS, then Deluge and Fire. Well, Bideford wants a static fire test. Looking forward to a very successful static fire with all my favourite NSFs and space nerds. Thank you, Bideford, for your support, as always, on every single stream. We don't know if it is a static fire test today. It might not be. We are getting closer to expecting a static fire test, though. Either way, so either today or tomorrow, maybe, I would say. But let's see. You never know. I never rule it out, because you never know with SpaceX. Mike Alpha Tango Sierra, Matt, as Matt gets Matt's command angle. We've got Matt's command. We've got Bideford command. Let's do Bideford command first. Bideford. Oh, God, I'm multitasking. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about, multitasking. Matt is there as well. Way to go, Jay. Yes, Jay. Well done, Jay. We nearly didn't have a stream. We nearly had to talk on Starbase Live, which would be fine. It'd been the same kind of view, still talky, but it's on a dedicated stream. This gets recorded and put into like in the background. So when you go on NASASpaceflight's YouTube channel in years to come, you can go back on all these tests. Starbase Live, you couldn't have done that, so that would have been a bit of a problem otherwise, but thankfully we got it working. Meek Original has given you 10 Red Team memberships, so if you've got a Red Team membership, do say thank you in chat, because you got it for free for a month. Thanks to Matt. That's really cool. Bill wants to know, why do they have preconditioned cryo lines? Why do they have to precondition cryo lines, but the booster and ship tanks can just take it like a champ? Ryan?
Well, what's funny is they... So when they chill down the entire tank farm, they of course go through and they slowly flow in liquid, and they also do gas as well. Now, one thing you don't see them do is you don't see them put in cold gas into the tanks. It's not like fully chilling it down, but it's still like chilling it down a little bit. So it helps it so you're not fully shock cooling the booster, but you're also not getting a frosty booster before they're loading it all in. But the booster is also designed to be able to actually tank that tank the temperature change as well, and it goes the same thing alongside like Falcon 9, SLS, or any one of those any other rocket that takes cryogenic temperature propellants. Basically, they're able to load it, but of course, nothing loads as fast as this does.
Very good. Krico, thanks for all the quality coverage at NSF. Here's a bit of the coffee fund. Well, thank you for your support. That's more than coffee fund. That's $20. Thank you very much for your support. Darman says, currently studying physics A-level whilst watching the stream. Great combination. Go Booster 19. I assume you're UK because you said A-level. That reminds me of some of my past when I was back at school back in the 1920s. Feels like. Revhead, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Will, we're bagging. Thanks to the team at NSF. Hello.
Oh, yeah. Look at this. Here. Oh. You. Thanks, I guess.
Right
I need to point to it now.
Wow. This is... It's catching me out. I think we've all done all these streams and we got used to the kind of like procession involved with prop loading. But this is like super fast, and we're going to have to get used to this as well. And I will say I'm not going to have a problem getting used to this because this is fun. And remind me, Alex, it's faster than a Falcon 9. And a Falcon 9 is literally the size of the transfer tube inside the booster, isn't it?
Yep. Which should be already loaded by now, by the way, because now that we're seeing the frost here, the transfer tube is like you have the dome here, and sort of goes down there, through the LOX tank. But yeah, so all of that is already loaded, and now the level of the liquid methane is now well above the dome, and so now that's why we're seeing the frost, because that liquid methane inside of the tank is sort of touching the wall. The wall is getting very, very cold. And now the humidity in the air is sticking to that wall as frost.
Nice, very nice. Kat, you can join in with this as well. It's not a poll question because I can only do 4 answers on the poll. So let's just do a number in chat, and I'll go to Ryan and Alex as well. Everyday Space Nerd, great username by the way. If there is a static fire, how many engines do you think they will fire? I will start by saying all 10. Alex?
I think that they might try it. So when we saw the spin prime, we saw all 10, or at least it did seem like it was a lot of engines at the very least. So yeah, I think they're gonna be trying for the full complement of engines. Yeah.
Very good, Ryan.
I think they would go straight to 10, but of course there's always that possibility they do only 3. They do like 1 from each ring. So 1 center, 1 inner ring at 10, and 1 outer ring of 20. But, I mean, we'll see.
There we go. More thanks. By the way, again, I always preempt this because I've been on streams. I've been on many streams, different subject matters, completely different subject matters to rockets even. Bigger streams, in fact. You know, there's some streams that get like 200,000 people watching, and we don't see, I'm thinking, wow, they don't get the support we get. And I'm like, this is crazy. We are kind of unique in that. So I always make a point of thanking people. Space Watcher 01 for a little help on the cam cost. Thanks for everyone. That is very much appreciated. It does get used for that, by the way. We're not owned by some big company. If you're new to this, we're not owned by some big company. We're just like hired to talk on their stream, which they've acquired. We own ourselves. We're independent. And that's important, by the way, because that means we've got journalistic integrity where we can do independence on that. We're not under some editorial control. You know, it's basically I'm the editor, so I can decide what kind of content we put out there, and we are free to do it, which is a rare thing these days. You know what it's like with the mainstream media and what have you? It's rare. So it's important that, you know, not just us, others as well, like Tim and people like that and CSI, you support them because it's independent journalism. It really is. Ron Smith has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Flipper79 has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. So many free new members being brought in by our regular members here. Jeff, as part of the cryo delivery person, this fast delivery seems crazy fast. Can't wait until the first static fire. Yeah, it really is. I mean, this is what we've been talking about, the prop loading on Pad 2. And this is something, Ryan, we'll see with 39A, won't we? It's the same system. Pad 2 is the same what they're building on 39A and 37.
Well, the pad itself is the same. The tank farm is going to be a little bit different. They'll have slightly different tanks. And and the pressurization systems will be a little bit newer, and the pump systems are a little bit different, plus the subcoolers. So it's not the exact same, but we should definitely be seeing the same load times overall. So I would still expect 30-minute load times unless they found a way to improve on it even more at 39A, which, considering the size of the subcoolers that they have at that pad, there's a non-zero chance they go faster than 30 minutes. But I will hold that to wait for when they actually do a tanking test on that pad. So.
Very good. Alex, I think we're getting to the point in the uploading where I'm expecting an ooh, ooh, ooh from you at any moment. So please do, because I'll go long-winded on some answer sometime, or some question, or some point I want to make. And I require, Alex, is it, was that an ooh, ooh, ooh?
No, I was going to say, like, the next thing we'll see is, like, as soon as the liquid oxygen load is complete, that will be approximately also when liquid methane will be complete, and then we'll see from sort of here, more or less, there'll be vents from the launch mount structure, the service structure there, to the right of the launch mount from this view. Well, they'll do purges of some of the systems inside there, and so that'll be right after propellant load is complete. And usually that takes like a couple of minutes before the expected or simulated T0 for the test. What will happen during that T0, we have no idea. The next thing after those vents will be, of course, looking for the detonation suppression system, aka DSS, right? And whether they've, if they start the deluge system, I'll be interested to see what happens on that flame trench, right? Because yeah.
We're at this, based off timings, we're like 4 minutes or so away from prop load finish or less.
Yeah.
And the methane has been about 2 rings the last few times. So unless they're going to load it a lot quicker, this might be a little bit lower load on the methane. Like 1 less ring, almost. But we'll see where it stops. I'm trying to remember if it was more than this before, but I might be misremembering off the top of my head here.
There's also some other possibilities. This is a long test window they've got, and they've started right at the start. They've got it prop loaded now. They could easily do a test now and then detank, and everyone goes, oh, that's it for the day. But no, they've got plenty of time to recycle, then prop load it again, then static fire it today. They could easily do that, couldn't they, Alex?
Yeah, in theory, they could try later on, because this window goes all the way to 8 p.m. We're barely on the first 2 hours of the window, right? So, yeah, plenty of time. That's for sure.
Wow. Right. We're keeping a close eye on the booster. We are not just talking over it. We're all watching it along with you. I've literally got 2 windows with both the live feed, which is the production feed, and the actual YouTube feed with the chat on the right-hand side. I'm literally watching along with you all. So, we are keeping a close eye on the booster. But I would be remiss not to continue to thank people, because you can see at the top, chat, you can see at the top, it's all coming in at the top. I'm like, can you imagine if I ignored that? That'd be terrible. That'd be rude, to say the least. So I'm making sure I thank everybody for it. His doppelganger, that's a great username, gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Domino became a Red Team member. JSTTOBOAS, I can't pronounce it, has become a Capcom member, which means you've got access to our member Discord as well, which is a fun place I spend way too much time in. Wilbur Baggins, well said, Chris. We're all learning this new thing together, everything new together. I butchered that, Wilbur. I'll put it on screen. Kine said, are you going to cover Spectrum launch next week? I might drive over from Finland to see our first rocket launch. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to leak anything, so I'll just say watch this space. That's probably just giving it away. Willie, do you think... Oh, that's a massive super chat, by the way, Willie. Thank you very much for your support. Do you think while they are updating Pad 1 that SpaceX will prepare tower for fitting for the human axis arm, so crew axis arm at Starbase? Ryan, do you think we're way off that yet, aren't we?
Oh, we are...
crew launching for years.
We are way off needing a crew axis arm. I think the first pad that'll get it'll be 39A, but there is no indication that any of these launch towers are going to be fitted with a crew axis arm at any point soon. The towers would need a significant modification in in a location in order to do it. And the question becomes: is your crewed Starship going to be Block 3 or Block 4? It's going to be Block 4. The crew access arm is going to have to be taller than it would be for Block 3. So why put it on now? I think we're a ways away from anything like that.
Yep. This is a good question, Alex. Marcus wants to know how many centimeters or inches.
Oh, here we go. Vent drain lines out of the.
Oh, Ryan, what does that mean then? Timeline.
Drain lines means we are really, really close to any T0 here.
Oh lordy.
So.
Right. Let me get my Bandicam ready.
Yeah.
For those who don't know,
drain line here.
When you see little video clips on my X feed, it's literally Bandicam. I swear by it. It's a great little program. I'm not sponsored by it.
Let's see if
now the perch band will not be able to. It will not allow Naus to see the underside.
Right.
It will be funny, but yeah, that's the perch fan that I talked about. I was hearing the pumps sort of slow down and sort of like stopped, and then now this. So now we will wait to see if there's any activation of the detonation suppression system. If they fire the deluge water as well, that will be quite interesting. But yeah, we can see there's like a tape as well at the end of the flame trench.
The crazy thing,
actually.
I know the crazy thing is if they do static fire it. Sorry, Alex. If they do static fire it, then we can get on with our Sunday, can't we? That'll be it.
Oh, PSS.
There we go.
Wow.
Let's see what happens.
Did I
see a flash?
Did they just igniter test?
Yeah, maybe.
What?
I think they just did an igniter. I think that was igniters.
Just the igniters?
Yeah, I saw a flash out of the. I
saw a flash. Chat, did you see a flash?
I think they just did igniters. That was weird.
Could it be? Could it have been a pre-burner test with DSS? Because we have never seen a pre-burner test with DSS.
If they did a 10-engine DSS, that would. If they did a 10-engine pre-burner, that'd be more than enough to overcome that DSS, I would think. And if they did that, they might even fire off the ridge cap just to have enough water. I think that was like an igniter test.
Yeah, I definitely saw a flash, and I was like, oh, they're going to static fire it. But then, obviously, the water deluge system wasn't firing, so there's no way.
Would we see a flash? Oh, there we go.
Well,
I think that's the depress vent.
Yeah, that's probably the depress. But my question would be, Alex, is we've never seen them do an igniter test on a Raptor 3. Did they change the igniters? How much did they change them? Because I think they did, but I just don't know how much they did or what they did to them. At least I don't remember.
Do we have an absolute to the second timestamp? Because I'm going back and pressing rewind on my VHS tape and I can't find it.
Around 9:47 thereabouts.
Oh, I need seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, around the top of the minute. That's what I meant. Yeah.
I'm rewinding the tape.
9:47:00.
Be kind, rewind.
Depends also on the camera.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that was the igniters on all 10 engines. I'm almost certain that was, but I will say this: it's kind of interesting that they decided to do a closure and a practice load for that. Like,
yeah.
So basically, what they've done with Booster 19 is they put it on the pad. They did a bunch of pressure testing. They then did test number 1, which was a full wet dress rehearsal for the static fire. So they loaded it, did the DSS, activated the deluge. So that was everything but including engine chill. Then they did a spin prime. They loaded the whole thing up, did a spin prime without deluge activation. Then they just loaded the whole thing up again and did an igniter test without deluge activation, which means tomorrow, if all the data checks out, they've already tested everything with the engines and tested all the loading, which means tomorrow they'll load the whole thing up, fire the whole thing off, and tomorrow is probably a 10-engine static fire.
Neat. Right, I've got the timestamp. Hang on. Keep talking, because I'm going to do a tweet, and I can't multitask at the same time as typing. Alex, your thoughts?
My thoughts right now, it's like, why would you load the booster for just testing the igniters? And also, I hadn't seen that the igniters actually, like, produced a visible flash like that. I don't recall, maybe like during like Starhopper era sort of thing, maybe. I don't even remember this being a thing back when.
Wow, that is a definite. At 9:46:52.
Yeah,
is a flash out of the backside of the booster.
Yeah.
It's not a pre-burner test would have definitely left some residuals from the methane, even with the DSS running. But that's just a flash, and it's in an instant.
There we go. I've pinned it. Well, when I can press the pin thing. There we go. Pinned it.
I find it hilarious.
The full load, the reason why they did a full load is probably just to practice again, because, I mean, this is still only the third time they're loading a booster on this pad. So if you're gonna test the igniters and everything, you might as well just close the road, load the thing up, and test all the systems, right? Why not? I know in the past we've been able to hear the igniters off, but if them firing the igniters is a flash like that, that means anytime they need to test the igniters, they have to close the road at that point. They can't test them without closing it if it really is that much, because that's a flash. They cannot have Highway 4 open when they test those.
Ryan, what's the risk? What's the risk? Let's say they kept the road open and did an igniter test. I mean, it's prop loaded, I suppose, so that's one thing. But, I mean, I've assumed there's no risk. There could be a risk, couldn't there?
It could be sound. It could be. I mean, they could ignite and get a small fireball, or I don't know. Maybe that's why they're doing it. But imagine if there was just a bunch of people working over at Pad 1, or people driving down the road, and all of a sudden you get that bang and flash out of nowhere. Imagine this isn't like the smaller, igniters on block 1 and 2 where you needed to be relatively close to the pad to hear those. Imagine driving down Highway 4 and that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Got a burst tire.
I think they need to close. Yeah, right.
Oh my god. Right, so we're continuing to follow, because even if they start detanking now, that doesn't mean the end of testing for today. The signal we get from our experience covering these tests, goodness knows, it must be hundreds now of tests we've covered, is when the road reopens. That's the test. So we keep streaming, we keep talking, we have commentators lined up throughout the day, so we're covered on that one. And what we'll do is we'll keep watching this, because until the road opens, it's still game on. Yes, Alex?
Plus, we have the replays.
Oh,
Don't
replays.
Want to look at it again, right?
Yeah, it sounded like it was a single group, all 10 fired off at the same time. I think on SBL, if anyone was watching it, it sounded like 2 groups, but that might have been a delay between mics, depending on what mics were on.
Does that mean they're going to start all the engines at once?
Well, here's the other thing, is with the new size of the transfer tube and the way the plumbing is set up, they should have the flow rate capability to ignite all 33 at once. Because I know what they use. The reason why they don't do it, and this is a reason for almost every single rocket, is because you do it in groups to try to prevent issues with prop flow rate and all that jazz. But I don't know, that new transfer tube probably solves any of the fuel flow rate issues. With just methane, and you have access to the whole LOX tank, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they could fire off all 33 all at once in a single go. The booster could probably take that much thrust in an instant. I wouldn't be that surprised. And let's be honest, I mean, the banks of engine starts, if I can say words, from the last boosters were milliseconds apart. So Would it really be that much of a difference?
Well, on the previous boosters, it was like 2.8 seconds. So it was the first group of engines, then a second later the second group, and then 800 milliseconds later, or 0.8 seconds, the third and final group. It was 13, 15, 5.
Are we seeing any signs of detanking after this test?
They are. You can see the
Right.
frost going down on the locks. And let me stand by it. Let me check the methane, the large methane tanks.
By the way, this is the exciting thing about this is, let's say they tank, and then the road remains closed. Then they start retanking it. That's, I think, when we get excited about the potential of static fire today, I would say, to chat. That would be genuine excitement. We are ready for replays with audio. Jay has typed in and misspelt it in big bold letters with audio. So, replay time. Yeah, it's not breaking news, Jay. It's old news now in the business. In today's business, is old news now.
And by the way, they are
Okay.
detanking methane because the vent between the methane tanks is going, so that definitely indicates they're recondensing methane back at the tanks. So, waiting for the DSS here.
Yeah, maybe we should.
We've rewound the tape too far.
Did we go back too far? What happened?
By the way, I do find the breaking news thing funny. I'm a big fan of Steve Luckner. I think he's got a real fun channel where he's like one-man band just doing breaking news. All the breaking news! Breaking news!
Ah, there we go. Back on track. It also starts like, what, 25 seconds before? 20 to 25?
Wait for the flash. There it is.
There you go.
Oh! Yeah. Lovely little igniter noise. See, if I had a soundboard, Alex, I'd be able to sort of like take that and use it. Well, there we go. I've got a soundboard, I haven't got the software.
That's
Moving
going to
on.
be my next notification
That-
sound.
Yeah.
That is not a. Yeah, that's not a torch igniter anymore. That sounds like an acoustic igniter with that sound.
Oh,
Wait, an
Ryan,
acoustic igniter?
what's an acoustic
Yeah.
igniter?
Basically, no moving parts. You generates high temperatures by running by passing supersonic gas through a resonator cavity. That's basically what it does. So you basically take high pressure. It'd probably be really, really high pressure.
Audio, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll listen here.
Oh, so Paul Ryan. I saw Jay type in capitals in the back saying "standby audio." So I go, Ryan, there's audio coming. Ryan stopped talking, and then Jay goes, "Nope, no audio. Sorry."
So basically, what you're doing is, my guess is they're taking gaseous oxygen and methane at extremely high pressures and putting them through like a de Laval nozzle, and they're popping them out at supersonic speeds, and the high temperature and pressure causes it to ignite between them, and then that's where you get the loud. That little
The funny
pop
thing,
sound.
the funny thing of that, Ryan, is that they've been trying to remove more and more the igniters from those engines. Like Raptor 1, it used to have igniters on both preburners and also on the main combustion chamber. For Raptor 2, they removed the igniter on the main combustion chamber because both methane and oxygen already came in quite hot, right? And at high pressures into the main combustion chamber. So it's sort of like auto ignition basically. So you don't need the igniter at all. And now like that's a step further because now you don't even need a spark to ignite the gases methane and
Yeah.
oxygen on the
you put
pre-burners.
you put a supersonic jet flow through a converging nozzle. So basically, and in that case, you're basically using just incredibly high pressure gas. So those COPVs are probably running at, I don't know, several thousand psi, running the oxygen and methane out, and then that's how they're igniting, which means no moving parts, and all it needs is high pressure gas in order to ignite the engines. No spark, no nothing, no torch igniters. So if that's what they're using here, which kind of sounds like that, because that doesn't sound like a spark igniter, and it doesn't sound like a torch igniter at all. It does not sound like a spark. I know one when I hear one, because I've heard a high voltage spark igniters off jet engines, and that certainly wasn't one. That sounded like supersonic gases, if anything. So
we've got an awful lot of people turning up, probably because friends and family have said there's been a test at Starbase, and that happens on the internet. People on Discords and whatever, there's been a test, and people rush into the stream, and as a stream, we're streaming live. So for those people who are coming in and asking, what did I miss? What I've done is I've pinned what looks like an igniter test as a little 10-second clip. It's midway through the 10-second clip where you'll see the flash. That looks like an igniter test. So that's what's happened so far. They've had a full tanking for that test. They're now detanking, but they're still in a test day. Until the road opens, we're still in a test day. So there's every potential they could recycle for a static fire test today. It might be tomorrow, though. So there's no kind of we don't know. SpaceX don't put out a press release. They don't put out any notification. These days, where pressure notices are gone, they've gone because Boca Chica Village is no longer public. It's all like SpaceX employees now. So we have to really just keep an eye on things and just follow along. We can't rule it out, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But either way, until the road opens, we're in a test cycle. So far today, they've had a full load. They've had an igniter test. They're detanking. They might recycle and retank it again. Let me thank some more people, by the way, because I always make a point of making sure I thank these people. Alicia's done a big tip. One way of supporting us is tips. That's avoiding the YouTube thing. And that's to the entire team. Thank you for all their hard work. Thank you, Alicia. That's a big support as well. Very much appreciated. Crafty Geek, any chance they do 2 static fires? Greedy. With the main fuel load and with a prop recycle in the same day. You know what? Let's ask the question. Ryan, would there be any viable reason for them to do 2 static fire tests in a day? Can they even do that with the engines?
They have only done that. I don't even think they've done that since. I'm trying to remember. I think it was SN9 was the last time they did it, unless it was
5 years ago.
No. Wait, my bad. No, it was S20. Remember, S20 did 1 RVAC, and then it did an RVAC and an RC. I think that's the last time they ever did 2 static fires in a single day on a vehicle. They could do it. Would they? Probably not. But I don't see why they couldn't if they wanted to. It takes like 2.5-3 hours to fully detank this thing and safe it, which means you have to. The lucky thing is the load doesn't take that long, and from what we can see with the chill down, they can chill down the methane side in 1.5 hours now, which is hilarious. That's a quick chill down. I don't know how long the lock side takes because it's hard to measure it with how long the box fan was running. It was running for hours before they even started the methane side. But they could do it probably if they wanted to, but I don't think they will.
Hey, Ryan. I think Jake Egan has a screenshot, thanks to the SBL gang, our amazing SBL gang, of the flash itself. Here we are. Look at this. Oh, that's going to make people thinking, static fire! Again, the clue is no deluge going. So there was never, when we saw the flash, although it makes you think static fire, it's never going to be a case with that deluge running.
Just saying. Because that wasn't a pre-burner. Pre-burner, I think, would have been far more energetic, or at least you would have had more flames coming out, even with just the DSS running. But that was if that was really just igniters, that was powerful. That's just 10 engines. If they did all 10, imagine an all 33 engine igniter test, which we might They may go through that, and they may go through a wet dress rehearsal and just do an igniter test off the 33 engines or something. That would be nuts.
The thing, the context here is that's a screenshot. When we were showing it live, you'll see in the clip, it was literally just like not a millisecond, but it was a very short flash. It wasn't something you normally see. That would be mistaken as a pre-button sometimes. If you just took that screenshot and go, oh, was you like that for like 3 seconds? No, it wasn't. It was that literally a flash. That was a very good screenshot of a flash there. Oh, we're getting a replay now, just to show you what we mean by the flash, compared to, something longer. Wait for it. Literally is a case of blink and you'll miss it. There it is. I don't know how my timing of my voice is compared to the latency of the internet coming through to you, but as I was watching it there it was. We're going, Chris, you're a bit slow. No, it's just this latency.
It's funny because you were talking about the acoustic igniters, Ryan, and it reminded me. We actually, so this is a little bit of a plug. We recently covered on This Week in Spaceflight another company, which was doing something similar for their engines. I cannot remember right now the company, and I'm trying to ask in the back channel, like, do you remember which episode was? Because it was recently, like maybe like a month ago or something like that, and I remember that because I was writing that episode along with Marty.
Was it Arca?
No, definitely not Arca. They don't have to ignite anything on that thing. Yeah.
A bit of inside joke to long-term spaceflight fans there. The water company. Yes, we're launching with a water pistol.
And it seems like they might be dead now, too.
They might be dead now, yeah. Their website's been taken down, so that's not great.
There we go. Haha, thank you to the back channels and also the member Discord. So it's the Exploration Company, the one that did that.
Ah.
Resonance Ignition, it was.
Nice.
Which is rather interesting.
Raptor Rabbit, that is their YouTube username. What an amazing YouTube username. I was upgraded to Launch Director. That's literally one of our top levels of support, so thank you for going to that level of support. That means you're already a member, because you upgraded, it says here, upgraded to Launch Director member. Very much appreciate that. That is, I mean, even just, and I will say this, and people go, oh, you've just been a YouTuber, which is a horrendous thing to say to anybody. Just liking the stream, that helps. And I'll explain why. You don't get any more financial support via people liking streams. It don't work that way. But what it does is YouTube sees the videos getting liked, and it goes to the algorithm. People like this stream. I'll start spreading the stream out on recommendations and things like that. And that's twofold good thing. One, it means we might snag some casual person who has no interest in rockets and goes and watches one of our videos, or another spaceflight video from another YouTube channel, and they get into rockets. That's a good thing. I think we'll all agree. Getting more people into rockets, that's a good thing. The other thing is it ranks you higher than the AI slop that's really infecting YouTube and the internet these days, where you get like usually some farm which just throws out silly videos and it gets flashy, stupid thumbnails, and it gets people clicking on it. And that's a horrible thing for someone who's just getting into rockets, to get their introduction into rockets and seeing something fake. So that's why likes do help. That's why we always go about likes. It does make a difference. Right, I went long-winded again. Chris Pender has become a Red Team member. Welcome, Chris. Excel has upgraded to Capcom, so you're in our Discord now. It takes about an hour, I think, between YouTube and Discord. It's automated for it to talk to each other and upgrade you into our member Discord, but it won't take more than an hour, I don't think. Sometimes it takes like minutes, but I'd always say an hour to be on the safe side. Cornbread, why detank? How long can the booster hold fuel? Right, so let's pretend, Alex, they are going to do another test today. Why can't they just hold it fully loaded, prop load?
Well, we explained this, I think it was like 2 tests ago. Like, I think it was the day of the detonation suppression system. No, excuse me, the day of the spin prime that they did. So the reason is because they use subcooled propellants, right? And you leave it out there, right? And those propellants just warm up. Subcooled just means that it is colder than its boiling temperature. And letting it out there, warming up and everything out in the sun, basically warms up the liquid oxygen back to its boiling temperature. It's no longer sort of like a good. Yeah, it doesn't really recreate the conditions that you will see. Let's put it that way, right? And so in order to recycle, they need to detank and then reload the propellant, because when they detank, they're detanking liquid oxygen and liquid methane that it's at their boiling temperatures. When they load, it's actually subcooled methane and subcooled oxygen, basically colder temperatures, right? And that's what they use. That's what they will use during a launch day, normal launch day. That's what they are using for testing the engines. How long can they hold in a normal situation? We don't know for version 3. We know that at least for the past versions, it used to be at least 15, maybe 20 minutes, but not more than that. And the whole reason they could hold was because when this thing is fully loaded, it has so much propellant that it takes that long for that propellant to warm up to such a point where it's like it's not usable. Essentially, it's sort of like contaminated, if you will, right? Yeah, so that's basically the explanation why they have to detank, and if they want to try again, they have to retank again. I put the example of like it's sort of as if you wanted cold water, but you have like a boiling pot of water. What do? You dump the boiling water, and then you reload again with cold water. I don't know if that's a really good comparison, but that's what I came up with the other day. So yeah, there you go.
It's kind of relevant though, that a question from Marcus. By the way, I didn't mention Marcus House. Marcus House has got a great YouTube channel as well. I was talking about other channels. It's not just us. I'm not just saying like us and that's it. I'm saying like all original spaceflight content. Marcus House, another great example. Brilliant guy as well. Marcus Weed wants to know, how many centimeters does the booster and ship shrink when they are fully loaded? So super cold propellant, big steel tank. Ryan, do you think it shrinks?
Oh, it definitely shrinks.
Yep.
If you were to do a time lapse of the entire stack, it's more than a few centimeters. It shrinks a significant amount. When you look at a full stack or a booster loaded and a booster not loaded, it definitely shrinks. I don't know exactly by how much, but it definitely does. And I gotta say this, looking through all the replays, it looks like it was a igniter test plus spin prime. It was a combination, because what comes out of the trench is definitely a gas, and it's not smoke. I think they did a spin prime plus igniter test. It was a combination. So that's,
and correct me. Sorry, Ryan. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be the final test they needs to do ahead of a static fire test.
I mean, well, at this point, they've done 3 tanking tests, they've done 2 spin primes, and an igniter test. There really isn't anything else to do but to now spin up the pumps, light the igniters, spin up both pumps, light the igniters on both pre-burners, and go. And then light the engines off. There really isn't much else to do but come full circle and do the whole thing at once. So I would say, I doubt they do it today. They have shown that they do the test, they detank, they look at the data, and and then they do it the next day. I would not be surprised if by this time tomorrow we've already seen a 10 engine static fire. I would not be surprised at all.
You preempted my next thing, because once they have completed this test cycle with Booster 12 with its 10 engines, they'll take it back to the production site. Everyone will go, sigh. That's sad. The booster's no longer on the pad, but it's good news, because that means it's getting 33 engines. During that period, they're installing the 33 engines on Booster 19. Ship 39 should be out at masses doing its own static fire test with its 6 engines. And that will set the stage, because then we're just waiting for Booster 19 to return to Pad 2, do its 33 engine static fire test, and then we can start thinking about launch dates. Now, everyone has examples and guesses on when the launch date is. I think we should address the elephant in the room, because people keep asking when launch. What is our latest estimate? I'll start with Alex, because I know Ryan's been talking about launch dates endlessly on Raptor side. So let's start with Alex's guess, and chat join in, because we don't know. So chat join in with your guess on the launch date for Flight 12. Alex?
At least a good month from now, if not a little bit longer than that. The only way that I can see anything happening a little bit earlier than that, it's like seeing a really fast turnaround of this booster, of like it does maybe like a static fire tomorrow, right? And then they roll it out to, back to Mega Bay 1. They put the engines, the rest of the engines, the other 23 engines, right? And then they come back and sort of static fire, I don't know, within 2 weeks or something like that. Yeah, and then there's also Ship 39 as well that needs to static fire. There's a lot still to do. Full stack testing. We'll see. I think there's still at least a month, if not more, until we see a launch. Probably like late April at this point.
I see Zach Golden in chat. Hi, Zach. CSI Starbase, as you'll all know. I'm sure you all know this channel because you're all regulars here. Zach, what were your thoughts on that? Igniter test or anything more? It'd be interesting to see what Zach's thoughts are on that one. Ryan, launch date, guess?
Launch date, I still think it's going to be middle to end of April, if not later. There's still a lot more testing they got to do. They got to test another test tank, in fact. But looking at the whole thing, because I know a lot of people are going to ask, or some people will ask, well, if the igniters went off and it just spin prime, why did the pre-burners go off? Well, they might have just completely closed the fuel valves and not flowed any methane at all through that, so only spinning up the LOX pump and only firing off the igniters. I don't know why they would do that, but I don't really know how else to account for the gas that came out of the trench, because it doesn't really look like smoke to me. It kind of looks like they actually spun the pumps because they had a decent amount of gas that came out, but then again, I could be wrong. Unless SpaceX tells us what they did, we kind of have to speculate here. It's interesting to say the least. We'll just go with that.
I find more interesting that they have actually not acknowledged any of the tests so far.
Right.
Have you noticed that? Like, I have not seen any post other than the one that they did for rollout, which is interesting.
Zach has replied, it was certainly interesting. I wouldn't be surprised to see another one using a landing tank there. Interesting? Hey, shall we do... I haven't spammed in a while, have I? Let's spam Zach's channel. Spam, spam, spam. I have the power to do it. I don't care. He's a good guy, and he's good. The main thing is good videos. Let's face it. The video content is the main thing people are interested in, not people's personalities. There we go. But there we go. That's a great channel.
He's in the middle of a 3-part series on how they built this pad and why they did it the way they did it. Part 1 is awesome, and I can't wait to see part 2 and 3. It's gonna be awesome.
Very good. Right, during this detanking, we're going to be keeping alive. Again, as I mentioned earlier, people joining right now probably wondering what I'm talking about, but it's a case of it's still an active test day while the road is still open. That is the trick here. I will need to come off commentary for a while, but we'll still have Alex and Ryan. We've got more people joining as well. But I will quickly just thank some more people. Real Luke says, are we expecting a static fire today? Well, we've just been talking about that. We don't know, but we never rule it out. Space Explorer, do you think SpaceX would want to land maybe Ship 40 or Ship 41 in the Gulf before a catch? Yeah, Elon was talking about at least 2 more catches, pinpoint landings in the ocean before attempting to catch the ship. I'm kind of more interested in the booster. I think we'll obviously have a booster splash down for the first one on Flight 12, but on Flight 13, I say first Block 3. But on Flight 13, if Flight 12 goes to plan, everything goes well, there's every chance that Flight 13 could be a booster catch. What do you think, Alex?
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. It's still quite weird because it's like if they don't catch, right, that's another booster that they cannot reuse. But if they do catch, they can reuse it, and then they are able to fly more often, which is something that they really want to do, especially because of all the contracts that they have, right? So we'll see. I really want them to catch as soon as is safe and doable to do, but yeah.
Very good. I have just left a message to you both in the back room. Let me know if that's workable for you, because I have to do a quick escape very shortly. But we do have more commentary coming on by top of hour, at least, I believe. I think Max was joining as well. It's a good period during this detanking part where we could just chat for a while we wait for the next potential reloading of the booster. Let me know if you can see the control panel, Alex and Ryan. Let me know as soon as you possibly can, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, thanks to all your support again, because that is very much appreciated, which allows us to do it. And Alex is going to take over hosting. Thank you, Alex. I will pop on later on as it can be, but I have to make emergency exit because I have to make an emergency exit. So thank you all. I'm going to leave you in the good hands of Alex and Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah, I can take over while we wait for the next relief in commentary, or whether they open the road or anything. We're definitely going to be holding the fort here as long as we can. You know, as long as there's still activity on the pad, they can always do something else. And I'm already seeing a lot of people in chat, in fact, saying, you know, still a long time in the window, you never know. And that's true. That's true. So I have more questions that we can debate, talk about, but you know the drill. If you have anything else to ask at NASASpaceflight or at NSF with your question, and we'll grab it here in the queue. Now, there is one important question, because we're seeing the detanking here, but we also saw a rapid propellant load that we saw on the booster. And Stephen King, that's quite a funny name, I guess. Will prop load go slower when they add the ship to the stack? Like, is that gonna be going slower then?
No, there's separate ship systems. So the booster, there are 9 total LOX pumps plus 8 total methane pumps. Four methane pumps are for the booster, and there's 5 LOX pumps for the booster. There's still 4 pumps for ship on both for both propellants. They also have their own separate lines, their own separate subcooler setups. So it won't slow it down at all. It'll probably go just as fast or even faster. Because if you compare the pumping capacity and the subcooling capacity on what they have for Pad 2 for the ship compared to what they have at Pad 1, it's like tripled the capability, triple or quadruple the capability. Like, they used to use a single pump for methane and like 1, maybe 2 pumps for ship, depending on the configuration they wanted to do it in Pad 1. They now have 4 pumps each side. They also used to use a singular methane subcooler. They now have 4 for the ship. And they used to use only 2 LOX subcoolers. They now have 1 large one that's the equivalent to maybe 6. So they have significantly increased their capabilities of loading ship. So instead of ship taking 49 minutes to load, they might be able to load that thing in 20. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how long it takes them to load it. But yeah, I think it's also to get ready for Block 4, because they're stretching Block 4. So they may take 30 minutes to load this ship, or they may load it really quick. But the tank farm should also be able to load Block 4 in about half an hour as well. Maybe 40 minutes, but they also may expand the tank farm when they get to that point, but we'll have to wait and see. That's years away at this point.
Gonna do a bit of illustration here of what Ryan's sort of saying. So you have here the tank farm, right? And it's not like you go like this and then you sort of split it in 2, but rather, so let me redraw this. So you have the tank farm, right? Like there. Yeah. And then you have here the booster and here the ship. Like, it's 2 different things, right? It's not like you're adding more time to this. It's that you're doing both at the same time. And so that allows you to be able to do, even though you're adding the ship on top, right? It allows you to do both vehicles at the same time. And so instead of taking double the time, you take the same time, but just with each vehicle. So yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, there's
go ahead.
We have a shot in the back channel. I don't know if Jay can put it up or not. We one of our flyovers, I think it was back in February. It kind of shows what the pump setup and subcooler setup for it. I'll give Jay some time to pull it up if he can. But yeah, you can keep going, Alex.
Yeah, because there's also, because we were talking about some of the other things as well before. For example, like Mike Original asking, do they have enough propellant capacity nowadays to do a detank and retank again? And then we can see it's already with its own. It's a bit so-so, I will say, with the colors, because the contrast is not really great. But yeah.
So the blue outline there. So you see the blue outline. That's all the booster LOX side, and the green outline is the booster methane side. Now, I also, The two vertical tanks up there, those are the methane reclaim tanks. That's for the entire system. That helps them basically take warmer methane or methane gas and recondense it and reclaim the methane as they go to chill down the entire system and everything like that, and as they get into prop load. The stuff that isn't colored, so you see how there's 4 more pumps on the LOX run, and there's 4 more pumps on the methane run. Those are for the ship, and then you can see the separate subcoolers for the ship and where all the exhaust runs and everything else. It's a much cleaner setup than what they had for Pad 1. That was a jerry-rigged, bespoke setup that they had. In fact, this is a really cool view because you can see which pumps are frosty and which pumps are not. So you can see which ones are running for booster and which ones are not running at all because they're running for ship.
Are booster, right? And these are ship, because these one on the left are frosty and these ones are not. You can see the frost here, like in this pipe over here. See, there's like white in there, and so yeah. So that's essentially.
Okay. Sorry. Zach made a correction to me because I'm tired and I misspoke. The pipes are not twice as large; they're 50% larger, but you get double the radius, you get 4 times the volume.
Because of the hang on, like that. No. I'm trying to use this. And it's like the first time. But yeah.
That misclicked in my head there, Zach. Yeah, thanks for that. That misclicked in my head. You're trying to go there. Alex,
you know the point I'm trying to make, right? Like what CSI Starbase is saying in chat is that in order to get double the amount of volume, right? The surface area, when you have the tube and everything, and you sort of cut it in like the area.
Yeah.
The what's it called? Ryan, help me out.
It's the square cube law.
No, when you cut a tube and you have the surface area. Oh my gosh, I cannot remember the what's it called?
Right now.
Yeah, the area where that fluid goes through in the tube, that is a circle, right? And so if you increase if you want double the area, you don't need to increase the radius by twice. You just need to do square root of 2 basically. Anyways, and that's about 40% actually. Not even 50. It's like 40% because I think square root of 2 it's like 1.4 or something like that. Right? Yeah, cross section. Thank you, chat.
Yep,
there you go. Cross section. That's what I meant.
English.
Yeah. To be fair, I didn't remember even in Spanish, even though Spanish is my own my native language. But yeah, whatever. Yeah. So that's essentially what happens with a system that they have now. That it's faster to load, not just because they even have those wider pipes as we were talking about, but also the extra pumps as well that we're talking about, and as we were saying, the systems run in parallel. It's not one and then the other, right? And so they don't have to split the work basically.
The split for the methane and LOX supply is before the pumps. So you can, in aerial photos, you can actually see where the split is for the LOX. It's a little Y that splits off, and then you have one supply that goes to the booster pumps and one supply that goes to the ship pumps. And then, in fact, we don't have the dune shot looking at it, but you can actually even see, you can kind of even see where the methane split off is, where the main supply line splits into 2. One line then goes down to the booster pumps, and one line goes to the ship pumps. That's where the split is, and from that point forward, the systems are completely separated from one another. And that's where they go down the cryo trench, and then you can see you see that little bump right there that's a little bit frosty.
Here?
Right there. Just before that is where there's a little Y split off where the ship one is up top and runs across. That's the ship line, and the booster methane line runs under that into the pumps. So that's how that's set up. So the systems get completely separated from that point on. And of course, there's a bunch of high pressure switching, pre-press lines, all this other stuff, but that's basically how they do it. The only way where it's common is from the supply itself, which is the tanks. So.
Yeah. So
Yep.
coming back to the question here, because this is the delivery of the propellant, but the storage of propellant, do they have enough capacity in order to do another test?
They probably have enough. They should have enough to, if they fully detank and save it, they should have enough to redo it again. That's they have enough locks for a full stack. They should have enough locks for 1.5 stacks worth, basically. So this is only a booster. They don't even have the ship, so they definitely should have enough. And and not only that, with the new pad, they don't dump a ton overboard, whether it's engine chill or the OLM vent. They try to recapture as much as they can, so they actually have an even better chance at being able to recycle with this new pad than with the older one, because they save more. Now, when it comes to the tower, we can see the tower vent up there. That'll be dumping locks overboard, but it becomes a little bit more of a pain to try to recycle everything there. But they're still going to dump it overboard on the tower. So at least we get that indication, right? They don't have anything for the booster, but yeah, they should have more than enough to detank and recycle if they wanted to. I don't think they will, mainly because they haven't done that before. But yeah.
Yeah, and so we were talking about detanking, retanking. I had another. I'm tackling all of the same questions around the same topic, because now we're seeing the detanking process here. Gribo 7 UK. Do we know how fast they can detank? What's the fastest they could recycle with a new farm at the pad?
That all depends on. Yeah, it all depends on how quickly they could detank and then how quickly they can reset the system, because once you detank and then your system kind of sits cold, you still you have to make sure your entire system gets back to the temperature you need it for prop load. So whether they have to re-chill down lines or anything like that, because the part of the main reason for chill down is you want to make sure the lines are at the correct temperature, because the colder the lines, once you get your lines to the correct temperature, you're not going to have as much boil off, and you're also not going to shock cool them as much, so they have to be at a certain temperature for all that stuff. That entirely depends on that. I do not know what that time is. That's a SpaceX question, and not only that, I don't know as much about the cryo stuff. I have learned a lot of the cryo stuff I've learned with a lot of the people from Zach and AH over in and RGV and whatnot, and BJ and several others over in those communities. I've learned a lot about this, but I'm still don't know nearly as much as they do with the whole thing. So you're getting what you get with me. I can put it that way. I give you what I can. But that's a good question.
And it always takes a and it always takes a longer time to detank than loading propellant. We explained this before. We can explain it again. And now that I have illustration, I can probably explain it. But it's all due to how the pressures are handled, right? Because when you load things into the vehicle, you have the ground tanks, right, Ryan? And you're essentially sucking out all of that propellant from those propellant tanks on the ground, right? And when you do that, you're essentially sort of creating a vacuum on them, and that's not great for those. So you pump back some of that pressure with high pressure gas, right, into those ground tanks, and voila, you have a full system on the ground in order to be able to work on that, right? And that's what allows them to be able to load this booster in 30 minutes, because they have on the ground a full system that is then able to load all of that gases, whatever, methane or oxygen, depending on the commodity, right, back on the ground tanks. But you don't have that on the booster, otherwise it will be a lot heavier, right?
Yeah. Basically, they are. If I remember correctly, they're using the pumps to pull it out, or I mean, even gravity alone, they can still get it out pretty quick. I don't remember exactly how they do the detanking process. It's been a minute since I asked about that on that one, but we know. I mean, heck, what the test was at this rate, it was only 45 minutes ago, 50 minutes ago. Zach says all gravity, no pumps. And I mean, it's going pretty quick, and I guess, and that's the kind of thing too. When you've got a full booster, it goes quicker than with not, because you have the column of liquid pushing it down.
Yeah.
So you kind of have that gravity that kind of helps it a little bit. So it takes a little bit longer, when it goes out, and then of course when they, when you get the little bit left off, they'll vent off or boil off whatever, any like residuals in the tank that they can't get out.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to locks. They can just
yeah, because this is the locks QD, right? The quick disconnect for locks. And so I can imagine that when the level is sort of around here, it may no longer be able to go through, and so you still have a little bit of the booster here. So maybe that little bit of liquid oxygen they have to vent, right?
They do have a sump line, and thanks to Booster 18, and we also know this because I mean they do it anyways too. But we know they have they have the what was it? They have a line that goes down to the sump of the locks, the bottom of the locks tank. It's kind of funny because out of the
it would be still below, right?
QD,
The QD.
Yeah, out of the locks QD, there's like 4 or 5 separate lines that come out of that thing. It's kind of hilarious. It's like a spider web. It's a single line that comes out of the locks QD, and then it's a Y, and then it's another 2 Ys off the Ys. It's hilarious. I'd have to go pull up a picture of the aft again, but it's funny the way it looks like.
Makes you wonder why. Why the Y?
Wow.
Hey. So he's not here, so I can do it.
Yeah. I'll say this, and Zach makes a good point too. The gravity drain is part of the reason why the vertical storage tanks were a terrible idea. And not only that, I think they were shelling their pumps out because they weren't, the system wasn't as well pressurized. Because one thing with pumps, and this comes with any pump, is you need to have a decent back pressure on it. Like you can't have a low pressure on the inlet side, otherwise you're gonna cavitate your pump. Basically, you're gonna form these little air bubbles on the pump rotors or pistons or whatever type of pump you're using, and it's just gonna start degrade it, and you're gonna shred the pump. What I think they were also running into with those vertical tanks is they were not able to have enough inlet pressure on it, and they were cavitating pumps, because I think we all remember them, how many times they were changing LOX pumps and methane pumps. They were changing them like left, right, and center. And then when they finally switched over to more pressure, they added more pressure building systems in there, and especially once they got rid of the vertical tanks, they stopped doing it, basically. But, I mean, either way, they were having issues with the pumps. It could have been a tank pressure problem. It might not have been, but I still remember when they ran into that issue. They've been messing with some of the methane pumps at Pad 2, but not a lot. Either way, it's not nearly as bad as it was in the past.
So there's another thing as well to talk about here, because we're talking a lot about propellant and whatever, but it's true. Like, this is something that we're having a lot of questions about this, and also because this is what we're looking at, right? Like, it makes sense that we're talking about this. So there's another point to make as well here. We see in the defrost here. I don't know if we can maybe go to like a wider camera or one of them that looks at the bottom of the booster. Sorry, Jay, for backseating here. But like it's funny because the frost itself is going all the way here, right? Like this part of the booster. But that's just because the tank is cold around here, but the liquid oxygen is not up there. You see all of these fumes like this, for example. That's when it's actually there, touching still the wall of the tank. And those vapors, maybe around here, they stop. Like, the liquid oxygen level is already around there, right? So it's nearly complete, that detanking. It's just the last few rings, I guess. All of this is just because, like, all of this here is just because the tank is cold, which is why it's so uneven. If you look at this, like, these 2 peaks here and this trough there, right? It's sort of uneven because it's also warming up unevenly, right? It's not... if it were still any liquid oxygen there, because the liquid oxygen will be level, right? The frost will also be like that. So yeah, it's crazy.
You know what's interesting about them. So we've had 3 load tests now, which are basically every single load test has basically been, okay, this is the load they're doing for static fires. But what's been really odd is we saw that testing at Massey's where they seem to have chilled the tanks before they loaded, and they have not done that here at all. Where you saw frost going up, unevenly going up the tanks at Massey's, and then they would load, and they haven't done that here. I'm kind of curious as to why they did that now at Massey's. Or if, like, are they going to do that for a launch load? But I don't know why you would do a static fire load different than a launch load. Because you technically want to run the same kind of setup, in theory, between a static fire and a launch. It's just you're not loading as much methane. I don't know. Maybe that's just me spitballing out. I don't know why they wouldn't do that anymore. Maybe that was just an experiment at Massey's or something. It's just kind of curious.
You know, we have a few other questions. Again, you know, propellant stuff and propellant loading. But it's quite relevant because we are approaching the launch of Artemis 2, right? And we have questions also about the QD seals. Like, how do they ensure, for example, here, Space Doc Josh asking, how do the QD seal, the quick disconnects, right? I've never seen an issue there on, I guess, Starship. But, you know, lessons from the Artemis tail service mass, because we did see leaks on the liquid hydrogen tail service mass umbilical for SLS. I'm just going to preface this, Ryan, before you go. They have had leaks before. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. No, they've had leaks before, but the other thing is that they don't use hydrogen. Hydrogen is notorious for leaks. Methane still leaks. So does liquid oxygen. Just about everything, especially cryogenics, does. But I got to say, they don't leak as much. SpaceX has figured out their seals. I don't know exactly what they use for the seals, like material-wise, off the top of my head. But I know that SpaceX has had issues in the past, but they've definitely figured those out. The biggest leak that they've had, really, as far as I can tell, is when the LOX line burst on the Pad 1 QD for Flight 10. That's probably the worst leak they've had, and at least thank God it was just the LOX hose and not the methane hose that burst. And then they replaced. It's still hilarious. They replaced that thing 12 hours. Tried again, and then they scrubbed due to weather. That was one of the funniest. That was funny, but still, it was kind of funny to watch them replace that thing.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really blew my mind. Where it was like, oh, now they're replacing the QD umbilical and everything. Will they be able to launch today? And they were ready. Just the weather was not ready. It did not cooperate that day. And the same thing, you know, again, another question sort of related to Artemis as well, because it's quite the coincidence that all of this is happening around the same time. But hey, they were concerned on SLS that too many wet dress rehearsal will weaken the tanks, because sort of they're rated to a certain number, right? Does Starship have this issue? I don't think so, right? Because it's supposed to be reusable, versus an expendable rocket, etc., etc. There are also different levels of confidence and margins, right? Right?
Any pressure vessel could only be cycled so many times. And what I mean by cycled is you increase the pressure, decrease the pressure. So like when you talk about aircraft, you talk about them in terms of flight hours and flight cycles, which is takeoff and landing, because you take off, you pressurize the cabin, you depressurize the cabin as you go down and land. That expands and contracts the fuselage, which does wear and tear on the rivets, on the steel, on the aluminum, and even on steel floors. And it's a cycle. The same thing goes for Starship. Same thing goes for SLS. The tanks expand and contract, and especially they contract when you put that much liquid cryogenic propellant in them. The tanks contract, and then they'll expand again when you detank it. And especially even just pre-pressing the tanks, you're pressurizing the tanks and depressurizing the tanks. tanks can only go through so many cycles before they start getting cracks or like fatigue cracks or weld issues or any kind of things. Starship SpaceX probably has a number in mind for how many cycles a booster or a ship can go through. You also have to remember the flight regimes that booster has to go through, the ascent profile, the not only just the cycling of the tanks, but the ship pushing down on the booster and the forces it goes through during flight, as well as reentry. Ships reentry through the atmosphere. How many times can a ship do a reentry before the steel is weakened enough that you can't fly it anymore? How many times? That's a number they're going to have to figure out. Now with Starship, right? And that's why they're good. That's why they want to fly a lot. Is because then they can figure out that number and figure out what's safe and what's not safe. It's a reason why they're just constantly flying Falcon 9s on Starlink missions. Is there is a chance at some point during an ascent that a Falcon 9 has gone through enough cycles that all of a sudden, boom, it fails on ascent because they missed something, or you just don't see something. It's entirely possible for that to happen. Sometimes, like, small fatigue cracks are hard to see. It is a thing. Sometimes you miss something, or when you're still learning about a system. So there's still a chance that may happen to a Falcon 9. That's why they take their flight leaders on Starlinks only. Because if they lose a Starlink, well, they lose a Starlink. It stinks, but it's not like it's a commercial partner or anything like that. But we don't really know what the limit is for Starship. The one thing they could do with Starship, and what they probably can do with Falcon 9 as well, is they can put a patch on it. So say you get a fatigue crack in some location on the tank, okay? Say you get that fatigue crack. Well, cut out the damaged section and put in a welded doubler on, like you would on an airplane skin, and keep flying it. You can do that. I'm really curious to see if they do something like that in the future. I would assume so. Otherwise, you're scrapping a whole booster. And why would you do that when you could, in theory, patch it?
It would be funny if we get to that point of seeing boosters already patched and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine a very, far out future where it's like many decades into the future that could probably happen, right? Once they have like hundreds of flights under their engines, I guess. Or under the Griffins. There you go. But yeah, like it's one of those things that you can do with these, where it's like there was also another good point in chat where it was like you could in theory make it so that it survives an incredibly amount of cycles, right? Like millions of cycles, billions, trillions, whatever, right?
That's a lot.
Basically infinite cycles by human standards. The problem is it might be too heavy, right? Or it might be too unusable, right? Like maybe it's not just that it's heavy, it's too quirky or whatever, it's a weird design for it to fly. So yeah.
I will say this for some of the 737s that fly with the airline that I work for. Some of those 737 NGs are not sponsors. But obviously, yeah. But some of those aircraft, and even ones that fly for Delta or whatever, they're in the 25,000 to 30,000 flight cycle range. That's where they're at.
Yeah.
And they've been in service for 15, sometimes 20 years or more.
To be fair as well. I was going to say,
flying 3 or 4 times a day.
Because airplanes have a thing which is just pressure, but the boosters will also have temperature cycles. Because you have pressure cycles, right? When you load pressure
airplanes
into the
do
tank.
Too. I mean,
but not as extreme. It doesn't go.
No.
It doesn't go as fast, or it doesn't go right. Like what I'm trying to say is that unless I'm missing any commercial airplane, commercial passenger airplane, I'm meaning here. You don't load cryogenics on one of those, right? Like they have to be really, really cold. These tanks get really, really cold. They're still cold. Like there's no liquid oxygen there, and there's still frost. I don't see any condensation now, any sort of whiffs of vapor, which would indicate there's liquid oxygen there. I think it's pretty much detanked by now, but it's still so cold that you see still frost on it. Like, that's how cold this tank gets. It's not even pressure cycles, but also temperature cycles. Then in flight, it's gonna re-enter through the atmosphere. It's gonna get really hot, right? And it's gonna warm up, and it's still gonna be frosty. Like, that's the thing that's bonkers. That even through re-entry, even though it's a really like in some parts of the booster, it's gonna get really hot, especially in the engine section. The tanks are probably going to be still cold and frosty for a long time after a catch, as we've seen in the past, right? So it's not just pressure cycles that you have to care about on a rocket compared to... And also, it's a much higher pressure cycle, by the way, because the tanks here are like 5-6 bars, right, of pressure. You don't get that high on a plane, if I'm not mistaken, right?
You get on like a 787, you get about 8 psi.
Yeah, so
6
that will
psi
be
on a 737.
80% atmospheric pressure.
You set it
Or
for
60,
yeah for like a 737 and a lot of planes like it. You set it for it's about 8,000 feet, 8,000 feet off sea level for atmosphere. And then I know for the 87, because of the carbon composite body, you can set it to about 6,000 feet. So it'd be like you were in Denver. Basically, is what that is. So
Happy there.
yeah. So the air is a little bit thinner, but no, it's not like you're going at multiple bar. They're not designed for that at all. If you were to do that, you'd blow the fuselage open if you were to try to do that.
Side note, because you just reminded me that the only time that I've been to Denver, it was the air was thinner outside.
Yeah,
the plane
if you've never been at a high altitude and you go to Denver or go to a higher altitude, you will notice the difference. You will.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, going back on track here, what I was trying to mention is that even the pressure differences are even higher, right? Like it gets pressurized to a much higher pressure, especially compared to the outside pressure, because on an airplane it does get low outside, but not all the way to zero. Like, you're basically going near vacuum with a booster, right? So the pressure differences are even higher as well, and all of those cycles that you do, which was the point that I was trying to make. Sorry, because you were talking about planes before, but I was trying to make the point that even with like 20-something thousand flights of an airplane, that's probably the equivalent of like 100 on a booster, right? Because the booster sees a lot more different loads and different, like on a single flight of a booster, it's probably like hammering down a plane for like 10,000 flights or whatever. Like, I'm trying to make the point here that the loads that a booster sees, it's a lot harsher on the vehicle than comparing to a plane. So that's why I was saying, like, you could probably design the booster and the ship as well to survive, thousands, millions, billions of flights or whatever. But then it will probably be too heavy, or it will have to be a different design or something like that, and then it will probably be unfeasible. Not impossible, but at least, unfeasible. But yeah, sorry for cutting you out there, because I was like, side note, by the way. But anyways, yeah. We have some support, by the way. It's been coming in as because when Chris left, he cleaned up the support queue, and then suddenly more things came through. So we have here Nice Guy becoming a Red Team member. I mean, now they are Nicer Guy, because you're now Nicer Guy because it's the Red Team membership that they got. Then Crafty Geep with a super chat saying, vertical tanks are bad for pumps. Why do they use vertical methane recondenser tanks? Is cavitation only a liquid thing?
Vertical tanks could be bad for it. I'll just say this: it's my speculation that could have been a reason as to why they were constantly blowing pumps up or having to replace them at Pad 1. But as for using the vertical methane tanks, I mean, the system is still pressurized, so they're just, and those are after the pumps. That system is after the pumps, not before it. So you have your output pressure out of the pumps that's going into the reclaim system as you're cycling methane through the tank farm and chilling it down. that extra methane is going into those reclaim tanks in order to be rechilled and reused to be reclaimed, why it's called the reclaim system, because they can't just vent methane off to the atmosphere. That's a big no-no for the EPA. And it's also kind of dangerous just to vent methane off unless you're going to burn it off.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen this in different other systems as well, where we see the flare stacks going at, for example, at LC36 with New Glenn. They have one for the hydrogen, another one for the methane storage. Then they have another one for methane and another one for hydrogen boil off. Right? Like they have four different flare stacks at LC36, because you have your tanks on the ground, and even though they are heavily insulated and everything, there's still some boil off. Very little, but there's still going on, right? That boil off.
Yeah,
so you need to burn off that boil off. But then you have also the vehicle boil off, and so they have 4 different flare stacks at that pad, and they have even a 5th that they have added for a different test area that they have. So it's bonkers, but yeah.
As Zach is pointing out, they do have the allowance to vent 7 tons worth of methane during each test.
Which, to be fair, it's nothing compared to how much they can fit in the booster.
That's not a lot of methane, and also relative to the atmosphere of the Earth, that's like nothing. Like
for reference, 7 tons of methane is like less than 1% of the amount of methane that there is on a booster. So that's like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, because there's several hundred metric tons of methane on that booster, like
it's a lot. Like, to be fair, 7 tons compared to a human size sort of thing, it's a lot. But compared to the booster, because CSI was saying, I mean, relative is small, but literally it's a lot, because 7 tons is a lot of methane. But on a booster that can hold like around 800 of them, right? 800 tons of methane. That's still less than 1%. So it's basically dropping.
It's all relative.
Exactly. It's a relative measure here. Just to put it in perspective, because we were talking before, I think it was during the Flame Trench, Sawyer mentioned that, for example, at LC-39A, SpaceX had added methane loading on for certain payloads, like the Nova C lander from Intuitive Machines. That lander has probably like 500 kilograms of methane tops, like not more than that. It probably doesn't use more, maybe a ton at most. I don't think it's even heavier than a ton, to be fair. So that means the amount of methane that they can vent out of here for each test could probably load like a handful of those Nova C landers, right? So it's quite a lot, right? Compared to a Nova C, but compared to a booster, a super heavy booster, it's nothing, right? But yeah, and so we were mentioning the flare stacks. Ironically, SpaceX still uses flare stacks both at Massey's and at McGregor, right? Because at Massey's they have the covered one, the one that they cover.
Yeah, they don't have a cover on it, but it's a partially encapsulated flare stack off to the side. It at night when they're running that methane tank farm with the lighting just right, you can kind of see the flickering coming off of it as they burn off the methane, which is kind of cool. But I part of me always kind of wish they would put a flare stack at the launch site, but here we are.
Well,
I think it would look cool, but yeah, they used to. Igniting in the flare stack, right?
I was running through support and we dove well into this question, but it's interesting. It's always interesting to talk about these things. Now, Frederick Olsen with 59 Norwegian krone, I think. How many flights do you think we'll see this year? And this is going to be a really interesting... This is one of those questions that we're probably going to be debating for a while. At this point, I'm thinking like 4 from Boca and 0 from 39A. Am I being too pessimistic here? Well, let's hand it over to Ryan here.
That's even more pessimistic than me. Like, I'm not even kidding. Because I've been thinking 6 this year. I've been thinking 5 from Boca, 1 from 39A. I think they can do that. but also I will put an asterisk onto that number, as it entirely depends on how well this flight goes.
Yeah.
They need the. It also depends on when this flight goes, because like we look at flight 12, and it looks like they're going to be ready to at least static fire the first 10 engines likely tomorrow, but we'll see at this point. Booster then has to roll back. It has to get the rest of the engines. It has to get fitted out with the other stuff. It has to come back out. It has to static fire all 33, and then likely roll back again to get all the finishing touches for launch. Ship still needs, either it's going to get its engines right now and roll out and static fire, or it's going to go on the new thrust sim, get thrust simmed, roll out to masses, get thrust in, roll back, then get engines and roll back out, static fire, then roll back again and get ready for flight. We don't really know until they would have to wait to see which stand they roll in, because there's a chance we may not even catch any engines that go into Mega Bay 2, but we'll have to wait and see. And then on top of that, they just installed the cap onto 39.1. They're putting the rods in to do the crush testing on it, and they're making another booster test tank to test the grid fin sockets, which is going to go into the super crusher, which they're currently reconfiguring. Do they need to get that testing done before flight? I would, because you're trying to test the grid fin sockets. I would want to get that done, so maybe they have to test that. And then they got to stack the whole thing, do a tanking test, do a wet dress, and make sure everything is sorted. That's a lot to get done. Even if they skip the thrust simming on 39, that's a lot of work to get done. We're only a month away from mid-April. Does anyone truly think that they can finish all of that and launch in a month, or even in 5 weeks?
It will be quite complicated, right? And there's also the point. And there's also the point, like, one thing is, once you have these two vehicles tested and flown, where are the next vehicles? So we know at least that Ship 40 has been fully stacked, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, Ship 40 is fully stacked on the center stand.
Check me as I go here through some of these items. So then Booster 20, the next booster, has its transfer tube on Mega Bay 1, right?
It's in Mega Bay 1.
Vertical?
I don't know.
Still
we'd have to move one of our beach cams to go look to see if it's still vertical or not.
Yeah.
But they had it. It had been vertical for like over a day, because they made it vertical at 10 p.m. 2 nights ago, and didn't put it in yet as of this morning. So that needs to go in. Then the landing tank. Then there it is. It's still there.
There it is.
That needs to go into 20, then the landing tank,
Let's see if I can...
then the aft section, and then they still got to build the methane tank section.
There.
Yeah, then they still have to build the methane tank section on that thing. And then they can fully stack it. And that's just Booster 20.
Let's go through the numbers then. When did this happen for Booster 19? I know Booster 19 was a record stacking, but let's assume that from now on, they also record stack Booster 20. Let's assume that. When did that happen?
Transfer tube... I think
I know it probably happened early December or late November, right? Probably early December.
Look back at the exact date it got its transfer tube. Standby.
I know it had to be around early December, so it will be like 3 months ago.
It happened before December 15th, because they finished stacking the LOX tank on December 15th. They finished stacking the CH4 tank on December 20th, and they fully stacked the booster on December 23rd, which was a full-on speed run. I will say this, though, for Booster 20, they had the A45, or no, the A44 section in there. So the fourth aft tank section, it's 4 rings in there, and they were still missing 2 sections before they could put the transfer tube in, and there was like a 3-week gap between those 2 sections. Don't know why, but there was. And I think it had to do because they didn't want to take the lifts out because they were working on 18, but
So about 3 months ago, that's where Booster 19 was in its stacking.
Yep.
Do we think that 3 months from now we will see a Booster 20 right there being also tested on Pad 2? Because 3 months from now, it will be June. So if they launch Flight 12, say April, May, then at the very earliest, they're doing depress now from the tanks, because it seems like detanking has already wrapped up.
Looks like detanking could be done. But as to your point, Alex, like if at this rate, Flight 12 looks like it's May. That's my guess at this point. Is going to be May. Flight 13, June, July.
Okay.
Maybe July. And it also depends on how Flight 12 goes. If Flight 12 has a mishap,
let's assume that it goes perfect. How about that?
Hey, let's assume it goes perfect. The ship is
looking
much farther along than the booster is. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. We're looking at a potential flight after that, maybe early summer, like June, July timeframe, basically. So that will be already 2 flights, perhaps. You know, we are assuming the best in the first half of the year. Could they do more than that? So I think, based on this, if everything, like, you know, green lights to Malibu sort of thing, right? As it's usually mentioned. I think if everything really goes well, we could see maybe, if we are really, really lucky, maybe 8 flights from Starbase. That will be us being very lucky. I think realistically, we may see the same as last year, where it's like 5 of them, and then maybe 1 from Florida. That's my take. We'll see. Again, this is like perfect conditions, right?
If they're gonna get a flight rate up, they have to catch Booster 20.
Yeah.
Period.
That's gonna be very important.
Like the other thing is Ship 40 is stacked, but Ship 41 still isn't even on its payload bay yet in Star Factory, and Booster 21 is presumably in pieces in the factory. Ship 42 has its tiles. 43 is getting tiles. I don't think it has its forward flaps yet. Ship 44's nose cone is the one that's vanished. The presumed Ship 45 is the one that we've seen that's got the glued tiles on it, and it's getting tiled pins and some other tiles right now. So that's what it's getting at the moment. And then Ship 46's presumed Ship 46's nose cone has no pins or anything on it. So I don't think they would be reusing the ship until that point. I don't think they're reusing the ship until much, much later. It's going to be a bit, because once they start getting ships back, they're going to have to learn how to refurbish them and then maybe try to refly them. That's going to be a whole learning process in and of itself, because that's a whole other ball game than reusing a booster. I am really curious to see how many flights they could get this year. I
really like the new venting here.
I think that's just the drain. I think that's the drain out of the bunker, basically just draining the lines out.
Yeah.
But
so to recap, because we're seeing already the tanks depressing and everything. So we went live. They were already frosty and everything. They went into a test closure today at 8 a.m. Central Time today, and they did a full load, just like if it were a static fire, but no static fire happened. We saw the detonation suppression system activate, and then a flash from the aft of the booster. Now, we don't think it was an attempt to do a static fire, because they did not fire the deluge system, which you would see on an attempt to do a static fire test. However, we did see a flash, and the only thing that could happen that might have produced a flash that we think of is an igniter test. So we don't know why they had to load the booster as if it was a static fire test, but they did that for the test. And of course, after the test, they started detanking. The test, if you want to scroll back, happened around 9:47 a.m. Central, so around 1 hour and 20 minutes ago. And now we're seeing the tanks depressing, releasing all of that pressure that they had on the tanks. And we're waiting to see what SpaceX will do, because the test closure goes all the way to 8 p.m. Central, and you never know what they may do. And so that is the next thing that we will look for here at Starbase as we keep track of what happens to Booster 19. Of course, we'll also take a look at the road closure as well, whether they open the road or not. Because, you know, there we go. That's the road closure there. Will they open the road? Will they test again today? That's unknown, right? And so it wouldn't be the first time that they test twice in the same window. It's rare, sure, but you never know. And it's a really long window. I mean, again, it's 11 a.m., right? And they have until 8 p.m. So
they got another 9 hours if they wanted to use it.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it's windy down there.
It is. It is. Look at those trees and everything. And the camera, of course, as well. The flag. Yeah. Poor flag. Look at that. There we go. Now it's straightening out. It was sort of flapping up at one point. But in any case, we're going to be, here chatting and taking your questions as usual. And running through some support and everything. I have another one here, Apocalypse Cowbell, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. So that's another 5 more people that will be able to access the membership program, all of the behind the scenes and all of the membership pictures and things like that. I think lately we had some pictures of the lift of Booster 19 back on the pad. So for people that may have missed this, before today's test, they had removed Booster 19 from the launch mount, right? One of the big problems, and we can probably discuss this a little bit more, Ryan, of this new pad design is that they don't have access to the underside of the booster out there, right? So like the booster's aft is enclosed within the launch ring, within that launch mount, and there's no platform or any sort of access to that section while it is on the mount. So the only way, if you want to do any work on that, the only way to do that is just remove it from the launch mount, put it on its stand, and then work on it while it is on the stand. And that's what they did between Friday and Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, right, Ryan?
Yeah, they removed it Friday, worked on it yesterday, and then worked on it through Friday, through yesterday, and then placed it back on the pad. It was yesterday morning. In fact, is when they put it back on the pad and then did some checkouts. Did whatever checkouts with it, and they were closed up they closed it up like pretty early last night, and the pad was pretty closed down. They even had a sheriff at like the entrance to the pad area at like 6 a.m. or it was like or like 6:30 a.m. or something like that. So they were geared up, ready to go as early as possible. As we saw, they already did the test. It's not even 12 yet. They're almost done. They're almost done with full depress. But as for working on the pad, it's a choice by SpaceX to not be able to do a work platform for it. And to be honest, doing a work platform for this one could be possible in some ways. It'd be kind of tricky to do it in other ways, though. But basically, SpaceX has decided that if they need to work on the booster, they can place it on a transport stand. They built a vault at the staging area so they can hook up electrical and pressure lines. They specifically built a vault to do that, knowing that that's what they were going to do going forward. And any major work that needs to happen on the booster, like an engine swap, they'll just roll it back and put it in the Mega Bay or Giga Bay whenever it gets operational. It's a deliberate choice. I will say that the dance floor of Pad 1 was actually more to work on the pad than it was to work on the booster. Now they could work on the booster with it, but its existence was more working on the pad than anything, because they needed that to install all those stupid breakaway engine chill lines that they had installed on it. Thank God that system's gone. But yeah, it's a deliberate choice by SpaceX to not have one for this pad.
Yeah, the idea is that in the future, the booster should just be on the mount, launch, come back, put back on the mount. If it needs any work, just roll back another booster, a different booster, right? You roll back the booster that flew, and then you put it on the Giga Bay, and then the new one sort of takes over and keeps launching, right? Like that will be the idea, I guess. To bring it back to the plane discussions that we had earlier, and sort of like you had a plane that has an issue, and it's like, oh shucks, now we cannot fly with this one. So you roll another one and put the passengers on that other one.
Otherwise, you're canceling flights. That's the kind of thing, and if a booster has a big enough issue that you need to take it off the mount to work on it, you might as well take it off the mount, roll it back, and put a new booster on and do it. I think SpaceX's plan is to have enough boosters and ships lying around that they can just swap it. Now, ships is kind of more of a little bit of an issue because if you have a payload mission like a Starlink or a commercial mission, you kind of need to get that particular ship working unless you have like another ship loaded with Starlinks ready to go and you could swap those ships out. If it's a ship with a particular customer payload on it, well, you can't really swap that out. You have to fix it there. And then restack it and do it. So they will likely have the capability to do that, and then launch it and whatnot. So boosters, yeah, you can swap it out easy. Tanker ships, yeah, you could probably swap it out easy. Starlink ships, as long as you had ships loaded with Starlinks just ready to swap out in case one had an issue and you could still make the mission. And it looks
Cybertruck going to the pad.
Yeah, it looks. That might road
might be
opening
road
up
opening.
Here. But yeah, that's a deliberate choice to just kind of swap out if they have to, basically. I think that's pretty confident that we got road opening at this rate with vehicles going to the pad and one of the sheriffs leaving.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, well, if they fully open the road, because there's another part as well to this where it's like, well, maybe they might be going to the pan and just sort of, retry again. Let's be honest, it's a really unlikely thing, right? At this point, it's clear that they're probably going to be fully opening the road. But you know what this means? We may see more testing tomorrow and the days after, because how many different closures do we have, Ryan, in the next few
Monday,
days?
Tuesday, Wednesday, all 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. But I will say for everyone, get ready, because with how quickly they were ready to go today, if everything looks good and they're ready to go, you best bet that they are going to try. I would not be surprised if they go as early as possible and get a static fire out of the way early tomorrow morning. Because I don't know what other tests you need to do to get ready for a static fire other than what they've done. You've done a spin. You've spun the pumps. You've tested the igniters. You've done 3 full load. You've done 3 You've done.
Sorry, it doesn't even do that because it's
static fire loads.
Whatever.
But basically, I fully expect them at this rate with everything they've done. I fully expect them to static fire tomorrow. I could be wrong, but I want to say it with some confidence. I want to see a static fire on this pad, and hopefully it's early tomorrow morning.
Hi,
yeah,
I'm back.
Oh, we have Chris B here back.
Yeah, Chris B turns up when the road opens. Typical.
Yeah, right when it opened.
Question for me, just turning back up again after popping out for a second. Does this mean testing is definitely concluded for the day, or not?
I would say so. I doubt they would try to. I would doubt they would go to close the road again and re-chill down the tank farm. It's kind of pointless. And I think did the closure get removed from the site?
I think so, right? Because I was actually asking this in the back channel, and I was like, hang on, I don't see the one for the 15th, and now the one for tomorrow, the 16th, is showing primary.
Yeah, it's
so
the
closure.
Tomorrow. The closure's been removed, and tomorrow is now the primary testing closure. So there you go.
Hey.
The closure's been removed from the website, which means they are done for today. But that also means that with the primary set for tomorrow, they are going to do some more testing tomorrow, and fingers crossed we get a 10-engine static fire on this pad. I can't wait.
Well, I'm the person who I don't do the thumbnails. I can't draw to save my life. I MS Paint XP versions, the highest I go. But I take the thumbnails that Brady and Kerr design for us, and I insert them into the stream thing. That's why I knew about the problems earlier today. I insert them into the stream, and I will be using the static fire thumbnail for tomorrow. Ooh, exciting!
Daring, are we?
Yeah.
No, but really, like, should we invoke a static fire? I think so, right? Like, maybe if we put the thumbnail and title and everything as a static fire, it sort of makes it be.
The way it'll work is SpaceX will be sort of like getting home from work today going, right, okay, let's plan tomorrow. Oh, I see NSF's done a static fire stream for tomorrow. Okay, static fire stream on Monday. Can you imagine?
I want to say this. I know it's only 10 engines, but SpaceX, you know. Yeah,
full thrust?
SpaceX. Well, yes, full thrust on them, but stream it.
I dare you.
Stream it.
Elon on X. I'll just go, at Elon, can we do a static fire on Monday? At Elon.
The launch mount camera. Those 4 cameras that extend down.
Yes.
I want that.
Yes. I want stream it. I know it's only 10 engines. Stream it. I don't care.
Yeah.
We all want to see it. You know we all want to see it. This is a call out to SpaceX. Stream it. At Dan. At Dan. Where are you?
SRT feed and everything. Whatever.
Well, I've just piled into the stream. Yeah, I was just thinking. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, I was thinking.
Wrap up this, or do you do it? Anyways, so yeah, we see now the road is open. Testing is complete to wrap up today's test. Again, they closed the road. They loaded propellant on Booster 19. They did what seemed to be an igniter test on the engines. No static fire or anything like that, but they did test the igniter system. It seemed maybe even some sort of like a half spin prime as well there. But so far so good. It didn't look anything odd other than, it's the first time I saw at least that flash from the igniters. And of course, we'll see more testing hopefully in the next few days. As we were mentioning, we have more closures tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. That's gonna be another test run. We're gonna try and see if we can invoke some kind of static fire test or something with that stream. But yeah, Chris, thanks for being on.
Well, thank you, Alex. I hardly did much. I only did the first part of this, but thank you, Alex and Ryan, for taking this on the full stream. Allow us to watch this test. But yeah, thank you, Alex.
Yeah, and thanks, Ryan, as well, for being here with me as well, commentating this stream.
Yeah, it's been fun covering all 3 of these. I didn't get to cover most of the spin primes I had to work, but I can't wait to cover tomorrow too. This is a ton of fun, and I just can't wait for a static fire. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, and of course, thanks Jay in the back channel as well, pulling all the levers and pushing all the buttons, and being able to wake up early in the morning and everything. to go live. But in any case, folks, we're gonna close this stream. You can keep watching Starbase activity at Starbase Live. We're not gonna be commentating, but I think that the saying is like we will be still live, but we'll not be having commentators, of course, until tomorrow with our dedicated stream whenever they go live tomorrow with that Booster 19 stream. And yeah, I've been Alex, the guy with the long name, and we'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.
And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Throttling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange!
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes, you bet. We don't need any more of these.